Good afternoon. Today we'll be giving you a very brief review of Arun Kolatkar's celebrated poem, The Bus. In fact, The Bus is the opening poem of his collection of poems, Jejuri, and the poem specifically describes the rough, bumpy journey from the starting point to its destination, which is the temple of Khandoba. The bus is apparently a state transport bus, the windows of which are screened by tarpaulin, with which the bus has been covered with to protect its passengers from rainfall, and also to keep off the cold wind which keeps blowing, as we see in the poem, through the journey. It's a night journey which the bus has undertaken, and after several hours of the arduous journey, the passengers start waiting eagerly for daybreak. The bus is full of pilgrims since it's going to a temple as its ultimate destination, the temple of Khandoba, where they want to offer worship, and the passengers might have included a few tourists who merely wanted to visit the place to satisfy their curiosity as to what goes on in the temple and where it stands. One of the passengers sits opposite an old man wearing glasses, and this passenger, while looking at the old man, sees his reflection in both the glasses of the spectacles which the old man is wearing. This passenger can feel the onward movement of the bus. The old man wears on his forehead a mark indicating his faith and his caste to which he belongs. And among the passengers is the protagonist of the poem, or the persona, if you may call it, who speaks in the poem, describing his experiences and his reactions to what he sees at Jejuri. In due course, the sun appears on the horizon, it's daybreak, and it quietly moves upwards in the sky. The sun's rays, filtering through the gaps in the tarpaulin windows, fall upon the old man's glasses. Then a ray of the sun falls upon the bus driver's night cheek. He has been obviously awake the whole night driving. The bus seems to have changed its direction, and according to the persona, it has been an uncomfortable journey. But when the destination is reached, the passengers get down from the bus, which held them tightly, as it were, in its grip. Now, this poem consists of 8 3-line stanzas, and if you read the poem very closely, it has a single line of conclusion, and it occurs, as I told you earlier, at the beginning of a collection of poems, titled Jejuri by Arun Kolatkar. And the first poem, The Bus, is written in the format of an approach poem, as it were, a poem that describes an approaching to a new place, a new planet. And as such, the persona, the poetic persona, is very, very conscious about whatever he observes. The poem apparently is composed with a certain strain of objectivity, and that is illustrated in the persuasive and pervasive use of you to signify what the poet observes. The whole poem abounds in visual metaphors. In the beginning, we see the tarpaulin flaps of the bus. Its eyes, so to speak, are buttoned down. Very little of the outside world is visible. In the cold wind, the narrator looks for signs of dawn, expressing yet again a universal human yearning to see things clearly. The first attempt is abortive. All that can be seen of the countryside is the speaker's own divided face in an old man's glass. The seeing of oneself instead of the object is very, very significant symbolically. After all, this is the curse that is involved in any act of perception, essentially, where one's own intentionality damns one no matter how hard one strives for flawless objectivity. Some shade of subjective nuances color our objective expressions anyway. The subjective inevitably and ultimately clouds most of our judgment, and in the end of the poem we can only see what we are or what we allow ourselves to see. The second stanza takes us to the speaker's destination. Significantly, it seems to be just above the cast mark on his forehead, as it were, and again we see the effects of optical illusions and reflections in the glasses of the old man. The speaker observes the countryside, but beyond caste, beyond religion. The poem certainly leads us thematically to the direction of the temple. And so far as the destination of the poem is concerned, the destination is mapped clearly on the old man's face, to the reflection of the countryside on his glasses, and when the bus actually arrives, the poet's own face is divided and the optical illusion is broken. This is an introductory poem. In fact, it prepares us to approach, as it were, the other poems which are there in the collection, and therefore essentially it signifies an arrival at a destination, and a proper reading of the bus would be if it is related both conceptually and thematically to the poems that are there in this particular collection, Jejudi. And I would suggest that you go through the poems, at least some of them immediately following the bus, and you can get an idea about the importance of the bus as an introductory poem. This is all I had to tell you today regarding Arun Kolatkar's The Bus. We will go to the text in greater detail in our next class. Thank you.